right now, but we're going to start off with our leadoff story. And it's the story that shook the hockey world this week, the sexual abuse case involving the Chicago Blackhawks. So Kyle Beach, a former member of the 2010 Chicago Blackhawks, bravely came out about the sexual abuse he suffered during his time with the team. Brad Aldrich was a video coach for the team, sexually assaulted and harassed Beach during the team's championship run. Joel Quenneville was the head coach of the Blackhawks at that time. When the issue was brought to his attention, he shook his head and said that it was hard for the team to get where they were, meaning the playoffs, and that he didn't have time to deal with it. So Quenneville obviously has stepped down as the head coach of the Florida Panthers after the meeting with Commissioner Gary Bettman. So there's a lot to process here, Ron. What are your thoughts?
My first thoughts is it reminds me a lot of Penn State. You know, you got a coach that puts in this case, the franchise ahead of Kyle Beach's situation. And he clearly knew about it. There's no way he didn't know about it. And if he says otherwise, it is total BS.
No, he admitted that they brought it to his attention. So
right, and so that's okay. You just sweep it under the rug, and that's okay with you? Like, really?
No, so here's one of the things that baffled me during this. When this came out, Quenneville was actually coaching in a game against the Boston Bruins.
Yep.
And how the NHL and the Florida Panthers didn't step in and say, look, you can't be, on the sideline during this game. It just didn't make sense to me why they would have allowed him to even coach.
Right.
I think the outcome was inevitable. And yet somehow he was, again, just trying to downplay it. So to me, it was another just disregard for the whole situation that he didn't take it seriously at the beginning in 2010. And then even when it was coming out now, he didn't take it seriously.
No. And I'll tell you something else. Like, Florida made their statement, and I accept that statement. They are totally against, what happened. The NHL, however, kind of said, oh, yeah, it was unfortunate, blah, 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 blah. But we're not going to take any action on Joel Quenneville. Are you kidding me? I mean, this is the NHL. Like, I've always held them in a higher regard on how they police the league because they actually do a pretty good job. But really? You're not going to take any action?
No,
like, how do you say that?
So yeah, he steps down, walks away. I mean, he's no way another team's going to pick him up as a coach. I can't see this not following him along with the John Gruden. So we saw two coaches in the last few weeks, right? And some of the mistakes that they've made that ultimately come back to haunt them. What do you think about the owner of the Blackhawks coming out and saying he wants to have the name removed from the cup? I thought that was a good statement.
Yeah, you thought it was a good statement, but meanwhile, in court, they're acting a different way. Like, they're trying to get Beach's lawsuit erased.
Really?
That's what they're trying to do. As early as yesterday. So that statement, we want him off there, that's BS. This team is trying to sweep it under the rug. And you know what? We were talking about Chicago, how they were going to have a great season. Maybe this is karma, okay? Because Fleury has absolutely sucked since going there. Like, near 6 goals against average, and they can't win a game. Well, guess what? This is karma for you, right here, at its best. It's working overtime. That team disgusts me.
Jar plays, thanks for joining. So again, I think the baffling part of this whole thing is that how at this point do teams not start to realize that this is going to come back at some point? Because I can't see how the entire organization, because he said he brought it to everybody.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He
You know
did.
what I mean? So
It's out there.
everybody in that organization knew what happened,
Right.
and none of them did anything about it. And it
Not
just,
one.
how does not one person step up and at least say, look, we've got to do something. This is going to come back.
Right. And not only that, Eric, Quenneville stayed as the head coach until 2019. This happened in 2010.
Yeah.
So they swept it under the rug for
9
years. 9 years they swept it under the rug.
So think about this, though, and I'm going to ask you this because I'm going to correlate it to the Washington football team as well. Do you believe the NHL knew about the situation?
I'm not sure they knew about it. That's tough because Beach put it out there. I would imagine. Why would he? If he's going higher and higher, why would he stop at the team level? So maybe maybe the NHL did know something about it.
So it's similar to what you see with the Washington football team now, and the NFL basically saying they're not going to release any more of the findings.
Yeah, of course not,
They're
because they're
protecting
part of it.
Yeah, they don't want to lose the money. It's a bad PR move. You know, they don't need it. And what they're trying to do is saying, okay, well, we'll just let it go away. Well, sometimes, unfortunately, if you let it sit there and don't deal with it, it's going to come out. And it's usually far worse. And that's what we're seeing now. And I commend him for at least continuing to speak out. And I believe the reason why he did, unfortunately, this person ended up, I think, sexually assaulting another player somewhere else in college or somewhere else, and it ended up, and it affected him. And he said, he wished he had said something sooner that maybe it would have protected that person. So this individual, Brad Aldrich, obviously has a major problem, and unfortunately, there was a lot of hands that were involved in allowing him to continue to do what he did, and the fact that they accepted it, that whole organization basically should be shunned for a while.
Yeah, it's quite unfortunate, and Beach went through all kinds of issues because of that, and he's now playing in Europe.
Yeah,
and that was a kid with a bright future. Man, that team destroyed him. They destroyed him.
It's a shame.
It's a shame.
And I'm sure there'll be more coming out about this story, but obviously we felt like we should definitely cover it first thing because
and you almost feel like Beach probably isn't the only one.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I'm sure, again, listen, at the end of the day, we're men, and a lot of times we don't feel like we've got to be that bravado.
Being vulnerable, right? You don't want to be vulnerable.
So how many other individuals are just, they don't want to come out because they're ashamed of what happened or that it happened to them, and hopefully Beach is that voice that if it was happening more in that organization, that ultimately this guy goes to jail for the rest of his life. Yeah. Similar to, and you brought it up right before we started the show, or at the beginning of the show, Penn State, and that man will never see the light of day again. So that's ultimately what they deserve. Well, let's go on to some sports.
Yeah,
it's a very hard story to even.
It is. It's getting old and sickening, and I'm telling you, like coaches need to be held accountable.
Yeah,
they really do.
And I'd honestly truly like to see stories come out before that all this, somebody has to come out and say it happened 10 years ago and nobody did anything about it. How about a team just step up and say, look, this was brought to our attention and we're investigating it. Let's not wait till, unfortunately, you don't have a choice in the matter and have to, do something or say something. But,
exactly. Like, be forthcoming. People will accept the situation better if an organization like an NHL, NFL, whatever team comes out and says, hey, look, this happened and we just found out about it.
Yeah.
And we're going to fix it.
Yeah.
That's what we want. That's what we want.
Yeah, exactly. So let's move on to the NFL. And so there are no more unbeaten teams in the NFL after the Arizona Cardinals fell to the Green Bay Packers 24-21 21 last night in the highly anticipated matchup. Kyler Murray threw a late second interception to seal a victory for the Packers. Thoughts on the game?
Well, I saw the condensed version, so it was like one play after another without any of the other crap that, man, the game goes by so
quick,
fast.
Right? You don't realize it.
Look, Green Bay played pretty damn well. Like, that's about as good as you're going to be able to play against a team like Arizona. And look, they did everything. Like, if they had a plan, they checked every single box. And they did that plan to a T, and it worked fantastic.
Yeah, I thought the impressive part was we really expected Kyler Murray and Brett Favre. Hey, that's in our pick and roll. Aaron Rodgers to really, ultimately have like a shootout, and it was going to go back and forth, and we didn't see that. They control the ball on the ground, Green Bay, against a very good defense. And ultimately, if you look at it, think about the fact that they're both tied now in the NFC at 7-1. Green Bay gets that number 1 seed right now. Right. How important was this game to both teams, and ultimately maybe the playoff picture down the road?
Look, this was huge for Green Bay. Like, I mean, this is the cherry on top of that dessert that has been being built up since that week 1 debacle.
Yep.
And like this was immaculate for them. This was huge because now if they go toe to toe the rest of the way, Green Bay plays at home, and that is a huge difference when it's playoff time in football.
Oh yeah, in Green Bay, without a doubt. And you think about how we all thought the wheels were falling off the bus week 1, and you look at it, 7 straight victories now. Aaron Rodgers seems pretty happy right now with the Green Bay Packers.
And it was a progression too. It wasn't like, okay, after week 1, week 2 was perfectly fixed. It wasn't like that. It was like a progressive thing.
It's totally getting better.
And they played their best game of the season, yesterday.
Yeah, Goonboy, thanks for joining. So again, if you look at the fact of Aaron Rodgers is definitely starting to show why he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league, because
absolutely
yesterday they lost their tight end.
Oh,
right. He's done for the year.
Yeah.
They didn't have Adams. They didn't have his number 2 receiver as well, and he still was able to perform. So great job to Aaron Rodgers. What about the J.J. Watt injury, though, for the Cardinals? How big of a loss do you think that's going to be?
Well, I didn't think it was going to hurt as bad because he really didn't have like a whole bunch of stats. But his presence on the team was off the stat list because, first of all, he's a leader. We all know that. Yeah. He's a great leader. But he was getting pressure in all the time. And just that pressure alone was missed because they didn't really have it against, Aaron Rodgers.
No.
And if you're going to give Aaron Rodgers time, it's the Brady thing. You give Brady time, you give Aaron Rodgers time, he's going to pick you apart because it doesn't matter who the receivers are. He's going to get the ball to them. As long as they catch it, the key word catch.
Yeah.
That's what matters. And he's just too good to not have enough pressure.
Yeah, so ultimately, Snausages, thanks for joining. But you're 100% right, Ray. I think if you watched our NFL preview show, we discussed this injury bug with Watt and the potential of it happening to him, in Arizona as well. So it came to fruition. Here he is, season-ending injury, and it's a shame. But, as usual, once you start to get all those injuries, eventually your body just starts to shut down.
Well, we talked about this during the preview show with Watt.
Yeah.
Arizona looks like, on paper, the best defensive team, blah, blah, blah. But if Watt doesn't stay healthy, then that takes away that leadership role. And we had talked about this when he got picked up by Arizona. And that That is huge. It's huge, and you can't substitute a leader.
No.
Like they don't grow on trees.
Yeah.
Like we know this in New England. You can see it. They
Yeah.
don't have that leader.
So ultimately, I don't know, but it's amazing to see that the Green Bay Packers are probably the favorites now in the NFC. And, and 7 weeks ago, we were all debating on if they would even make the playoffs. So we'll have to see how that turns out.
Yeah.
So let's
Yeah.
talk about our homegrown New England Patriots. So the 3-4 New England Patriots are going to travel to the 4-2 Los Angeles Chargers this Sunday. What are your keys for the game?
Oh, Jesus. Look, you got to play like you played last week. You have to.
Yeah, if it's the same opponent, that'd be great.
Yeah, if it was the same opponent, like this is going to be night and day. Like you can't bring all the expectations of the Jets game to a Chargers game and think that it's going to be the same result, because the other team has something to say about that. First of all, you got to control their passing game and their running game.
Yeah, so I'm a little concerned with Herbert. Obviously, he looks like he's going to be a quarterback for the next few years that honestly is only going to get better.
Right.
But you got to look at a couple key factors. First of all, New England seems to play better on the road this year so far. So that ultimately might help the team. And the fact that the Chargers are honestly the second worst against the rush. And if we saw what Damian Harris and how aggressive he ran against the Jets, if he runs that way, they can control this game on the ground. They need to control this game on the ground.
That's what they need to do. They need to and stay out of penalties.
Penalties as usual.
Because as the Jets won't hurt you with those penalties, the Chargers will.
Yeah.
I mean, the class of teams is by far different. Like, the Chargers are not Dallas, they're not Tampa Bay, but they're pretty good. They're right up there. You got to control that clock. Run the ball, pound and pound and pound and pound. That defense will get tired and softer, and then you never know. I mean, they have a shot at this one if they can be close and nearly win against Dallas and Tampa Bay. They can win this game.
So look, and we've been talking about let Max sling the ball. This is probably not the game to do it, as the Chargers giving up the second least amount of yards against the pass. So
exactly,
and New England as well has to establish a pass rush, get in Herbert's face, try to confuse him a little bit, make things difficult, because ultimately you're going to need this defense to step up and not let him sling it up and down the field, because that's going to cost you. You're not going to be able to match that.
Right.
So, what are some of your other games of interest for Week 8 in the NFL?
I looked through the schedule. Didn't really like many games.
Okay, I got 5.
I also have 5.
All right, this has been the same theme each week.
But I don't think we're gonna have all the same.
All right.
Game of interest to me. First one is the Eagles at Lions. 2-5 versus 0-7. This could be the week for Detroit to bust out.
Or the first tie of the season.
Oh my God! Could you imagine that if it was a tie? Oh, but the Lions have a shot playing the Eagles to win their first game.
Yeah, the Lions may steal one. I mean, it's real.
It is possible.
If there's a chance, this is the week.
Oh, see?
Yeah, Sausages
knows.
All right. So one of my first ones was Titans at Colts.
Yeah, I didn't pick that one. I didn't like that one.
Cooling's our Colts guy. But I thought, listen, the Colts are starting to turn it around. They're starting to play better. Tennessee obviously looks like that team now that is in contention.
Yep.
If the Colts can win this game, it just goes to show that they're on the right track to possibly being a playoff team again.
Then I gotta win this game.
That rocky start. Oh, well, that's why they play the games, my friend.
That's why they play them.
When's his ball? Look, 28-23. Sausages. I like it. Ron, what's your second game?
All right, so my second game I chose the Panthers at Falcons.
Wow.
Look, the Panthers started out 3-0. They've now lost 4 straight. Falcons are in position now where they can actually have a winning record. They're 3-3, and both those teams are going to play some desperate football because they don't want to be knocked out of playoff contention.
Yeah.
Because
the problem is Sam Darnold came back down to earth, and it's completely hurting the Panthers now. At this point, you can see it. Yeah. And then no McCaffrey, who's scheduled to come back the week after with we play the Patriots. So
it's like that's their whole offense right there, McCaffrey. I mean, when you really think about it, everything is because of him. Darnold is so good when McCaffrey is in the lineup. And Hubbard, or whatever his name is, he's doing a good job, but he's not McCaffrey.
Yeah, there are not many that are.
So as he goes down, so does the offense, and then that means the defense is out there longer, and now they're struggling.
Yeah,
because they're out there too long, and they need this game. This game they have to win, or they're done. Season over.
So I got my second game. Yeah, second game I have is Cowboys at Vikings.
Yes, and I have that one as well.
Vikings have played some really close games, right? 3-3. But my curiosity is more with the Dallas Cowboys and this injury to Dak Prescott and how they manage this. Because, again, this is a game where it's going to be tight. And the one thing the Minnesota Vikings can do is create some pressure on the quarterback. And if that happens, does this injury end up costing the Dallas Cowboys? Because this is probably the best team they've had in years, or the best chance they've had in years.
Absolutely.
To honestly be a contender.
Absolutely. I had this one on the list too. And look, the Vikings are 3-3. Okay, 500 team. They are not a 500 team. They've played some tough games already. And this team could easily, if they had a little softer schedule at this point, they could be 5-6 wins.
Yeah.
They're a better team than their record is showing. And the Cowboys, look, the Cowboys with an injured Dak Prescott.
Yeah, they look great, but again, off a bye too. You got to see how they respond to that and that injury.
Yep.
What's your third game?
Well, that would have been my third game. I have the Bucks at Saints.
I have that one.
Bucks 6-1, Saints 4-2. Look, if the Saints can pull this one out, they move up to 5-2 and solidify themselves as a contender for the NFC. Do I think that's going to happen? No, because I think the Bucks are too good for them. But the Saints beat the Patriots, and the Patriots almost beat the Bucks. So
I just
the Saints could pull it out with their defense.
Yeah, I looked at it last year, and the one team that Tom struggled with was the New Orleans. He just didn't look good in those 2 regular season games at all.
Right.
I mean, granted, they beat him in the playoffs.
Yep.
But and again, it wasn't really Tom. It was more the mistakes that New Orleans made that ultimately helped Tampa Bay win that. So can he get over that hurdle and beat them in the regular season? Again, greatest quarterback of all time. I'm not saying, but they're in his head right now. I'm sure for him, he's going to try to overdo it to prove a point that he can beat this team in the regular season. Because, again, this is the best team in the NFL if all cylinders are rolling. The Bucks. There's no doubt in my mind. But, again, you haven't seen it consistently enough to say, look, there's not other teams out there that could beat them. And I think they need to start to prove that, look, nobody's going to touch us.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that they're in Tom Brady's head, but there is going to be that part of him that wants it more because he knows he lost a couple to them. And, nothing, to me, there is nothing better than a motivated Tom Brady. I'll bank on that every single time, and he's going to be motivated to win this game. He wants to stop the Saints' progression into this,
New
into
era
the
without Breeze.
NFC. Yeah, he wants to squash it. Like, no, let's squash this
A
now,
lot of division. Yep.
and we're not letting you in.
Yep. So I also
that's
had.
basically it.
What about the Steelers at Browns? And
I
so
have that one as well.
They've already said Mayfield's going to start. But the key is if the Steelers lose this game, it pretty much seals their fate that they're not making the playoffs. They have to go on a really good run, and I don't see that happening. So to me, the Steelers, it's the more important of the two. The Steelers definitely have to win it. If the Browns, again, want to stay relevant and prove that they're not just good on paper, right? They're good on the field.
Is Keenan starting? Well.
Who?
Do you know if Keenan's starting that game?
I'm not sure. No, Keenum, no. Mayfield.
So it is Mayfield that's starting.
Mayfield, they already announced it, yes.
Okay. So, I mean, look, it's going to be so hard for Pittsburgh to go into Cleveland and win that game. It's going to be so hard. If it was at Pittsburgh, I'd give them a shot at it, but I don't think they can pull it off. I just don't think they can put enough sustained pressure, offensively than what Cleveland can do.
Yeah, I could see it. What about my last game I had was the Giants at Chiefs, and it's the only thing is the Chiefs right now don't know what kind of team they are.
The Chiefs are a mess. Right?
So what happens if this game is close and the Giants have a shot? Do you start to feel the pressure in Kansas City and saying, wait, we got to win this. You can't go 3-5. You can't be 3-5, and expect to be able to do what you need to do to get to the playoffs and ultimately get back to the Super Bowl. If they lose to the Giants, like there's more pressure on the Chiefs. The Giants have nothing to play for, realistically.
I mean, because they're going in. What are they? 2-5. They're going into Kansas City to play the Chiefs. Like, taking the record away from the Chiefs, that is intimidating in itself. If I'd feel a little more confident if the Giants were playing well at all, but they're not playing well.
Honestly, even against the Eagles, I mean, the Chiefs didn't blow them out. Didn't look great. I mean, it was a close game until a couple late touchdowns. So again, if the Giants can hang around, I just wonder if that pressure starts to get to the Chiefs. They make a mistake that ultimately costs them, and then their season at 3-5, it's going to be extremely tough for them.
If they fall to 3-5, if they lose to the Giants, I think the season's over. Because there's no way they're not going to be able to recover and gain on 3 teams. You got to leapfrog over 3 teams at least, and that's just in your division. But you also have to worry about the Bengals, the Ravens, the Bills, the Titans, and if the Colts have a win this week, there's some teams out there that you have to worry about.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. It's going to be a fun week. Once again, if you're joining us, we're live. We're on Rhode Island Broadcasting. We're on every Friday night at 6 p.m. Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch at Rhode Island Broadcasting on Facebook and YouTube, and Rhode Island _broadcasting on Twitch. Follow us on social media at Sports Unfolded on Facebook and Twitter, at Broadcasting RI on Twitter, Sports _Unfolded on Instagram, and you can listen to us on Amazon, Anchor, Google, and Spotify at all our podcasts, all those sites. So really, really good stuff out there. Appreciate the fans that have joined us so far tonight. Sausages, we know you know your football, brother. Let's
the comment about Big Ben surviving the pressure.
So let's move on to some Major League Baseball, and let's talk about the World Series, which is in full swing. The Atlanta Braves and the Houston Astros are tied 1-1 heading into tonight's matchup in Atlanta. Who wins this series and why?
Well, I'm still hoping for Atlanta to win this series. Um, Look, they just got a lot of likable players on their team that didn't get caught cheating. You know what I'm saying? And I've watched a lot of the games, and there's still people mentioning
Thank you so much.
how upset they are that no players took any penalty for their role in any of that. So,
I'd like to agree with you, but I still think the Houston Astros are the best team currently in the playoffs.
I'm not saying that they're not.
I don't. I mean, the one thing Atlanta has for them is the pitching. So the ERA is 3.63 in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So they can do that. The problem is they've got to get the bats, and they've got to get hot. They did one key thing. They split in Houston. That's always important.
Yes,
to win
that is big.
Right? But we got to see how the Astros respond tonight. And if the Astros come back and win, right now that series, it changes the complexity of it.
Yeah, Atlanta absolutely has to win at least 2 of these at home. At least. If not, do it at home. Because then you got to go back to Houston, and Boston found out how hard that really was to go back to Houston, being on the brink of elimination. You just can't leave it to chance. Yeah. So you got to roll out everything. Game 3, Game 4, Game 5, get it done. So that way you don't have to worry about going back to Houston. Now, trying to win 3 games in a row against Houston is a whole nother story.
Difficult.
So I expect that Atlanta could pull out 2 of them, but I would not be surprised if Houston takes all 3 in Atlanta either. So, look, Houston has gamers.
You're on the fence here, but you're going to pick somebody, or?
Well, I'm still going with Atlanta because I want them to win.
I'm going Houston.
Yeah, I know you are.
I'm going Houston.
That's why you get all that orange.
That's it, baby. No. We were expecting Paul Rogers from the Pirates, so I figured I'd wear some of their colors. Hopefully we still get Paul on tonight.
Yeah, I hope so. I haven't seen him yet, but,
Got to get this one, yep. Yeah, I think it's important for them as well. And you think about, listen to this, though, right, as well with the Astros. All the pressure and scrutiny they've been under, right, because of the cheating scandal and everything else.
Right.
To still be able to perform at this level shows the strength and the character of that team. That's important.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if they lose this, that legacy remains. If they win this, they can possibly put that behind them. Right. And say, look, we won one without it. Like, we didn't need to bang trash cans or have things in our jerseys or anything else.
No, they didn't need that.
So, another Major League Baseball story. Bob Melvin was hired as the new manager for the San Diego Padres. Do you think this was a good move for the Padres?
Well, yeah, because,
Nope.
Well, I'm not. Look, I don't care who the manager is at this point. I just know that they needed to get a new manager after the complete collapse. There's no way they should have collapsed that far.
Okay, but why would you bring a manager in that he's basically a 500 manager?
Well, I would have hired the St. Louis manager that got fired, who rallied to get into the playoffs, and then they fire him. What is wrong with you?
They bulked up this roster to compete with the Dodgers, and they spent tons of money, and they've got good young talent.
And then they hire Bob Melvin.
Yeah, and you want to win in the postseason. The guy's 10-17 in his postseason.
Yeah, but he's got a new plan.
3 different teams. Yeah, what's that plan?
He's got a new plan. Do things differently.
Look, the quality of talent he had, he was in Seattle, then the Diamondbacks, and then the A's. And we all know the A's, that small market, and, Billy Bean and how he puts the team together. But to me, this guy doesn't know how to win. And if I was a Padres fan right now, I'd say, wait a minute. I thought we were trying to win a World Series.
I don't think it's as bad as you think. Because if you look at the 3 teams, Seattle, Arizona, and
Oakland.
What was the other one? Oakland. Okay. look, they're not contenders for anything really. I know Oakland has history of making playoffs and stuff like that, but they're not real contenders. They're a small market team. They don't go out and spend any money, and you only have a limited roster. So, yes, I understand Bob Melvin 10-17 in postseason, but when you look at those three teams, hey, he made postseason with those teams. So you got to look at it that way. So he's taken a team that is inferior to who they got to play. And if you're playing in the American League, chances are one of them is Boston, one of them is New York, one of them is Houston. You're not going to win against those teams. You're not going to win. So it it's not as bad as it appears. Yes, 10-17 postseason, but he got to play 20. He got to be in 27 postseason games with those three franchises that are just terrible.
No, I agree. I mean, he's done very well in Oakland if you consider what they've had. It just, to me, I think he had enough talent to possibly win, and it just seems like in the playoffs they always seem to.
Well, now he's got a lot of talent, and let's see what he does. Personally, though, I would have signed the St. Louis manager, because that's a guy that should not have lost his job, because they had no business being in the postseason. It should have been San Diego, and they rallied for like 17, 18 games, whatever the hell it was, and they got in. Like, that's a rallying team with a manager that pushed the buttons the right way.
Yep. You don't win that many straight unless you do something right. So triple play is actually correlating to the Major League Baseball, and our triple play this week is going to be, which of these Houston Astros infielders would you start, bench, and cut? So Jose Altuve, Carlos Correa, and Yoli Gurriel.
This is so difficult because if you look at the three,
enjoy your night, bro.
If you look at these three guys, they're affecting the playoffs differently. Altuve, 4 home runs, 8 RBIs. I think they were all solo shots, if I'm not mistaken. And then you had
Correa.
Gurriel,
yeah,
who has the better batting average, because I think Altuve is like batting 200. And Gurriel is hitting. He's got 1 home run, but he's got like 9 RBI right now. And that's pretty impressive. So I went with Gurriel as my starter.
Wow. Okay.
Over the other two. And then benching Altuve, even though he's got a 200 average, he's got the 8 RBIs, 4 home runs, and it's clutch. It's clutch. And unfortunately, I have to cut Correa, who might actually be the most talented of the three. But the numbers don't lie.
I went a little different direction, and I looked at more of what they've done Correa in their playoff career as well. So I'm starting Altuve because if you look at his postseason, he's batted .289 with 48 RBIs, 22 home runs. That's in 6 years and 16 series.
Yeah.
I'm going to bench Correa, who batted .270, 56 RBIs, 18 home runs.
Yeah.
Gurriel actually has a worse playoff average than the other two. Yep. He's .255, 34 RBIs, 6 home runs. So I looked at it from a postseason standpoint. If I had to make the choice, those three guys, I'm going Altuve, then Correa, and then Gurriel.
Yeah, I mean, really, it doesn't even matter which two. I mean,
yeah, they're both that. I mean, they're all solid players. I know Correa's up as a free agent, and there's going to be a lot of teams trying to.
Oh my God, they're going to be fighting over him
for the Astros. So that was our was our
watch out for the Yankees on Correa.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about it. We'll have to see. I don't know. They'll mess it up. You got to remember who's.
I hope so.
You got to remember who's running that team. All right. So we're going to move on to the NHL. and we're going to talk a little Boston Bruins. And I know you're a diehard, so I figured you could probably explain. So the Boston Bruins have gotten off to a slow start. They're 3-3, 1-3 on the road. What do you think this team needs to do to improve?
Stop shooting themselves in the foot. That's basically because I'm looking up and down the lineup, and I've been really focusing on the players and how they're doing, playing their position, what their role is on the team. And I'm looking, it's like the only players that really haven't done well in the last couple of games is the Bergeron line. That's the only line that really hasn't played up to what they're supposed to do. Now, Jack Studnicka took Smith's spot in the lineup.
Line, right?
He has been centering Coyle and Hall. Studnicka has been the best player in the past 2 games. Even though they lost those 2 games against Florida and Carolina, he has been their best player. Period. It's not even close. He's been everywhere. He's been fantastic. That kid really is going to be a stud. I'm telling you, he's going to bust out all of a sudden, and then I just hope it's with the Bruins because the Eichel news has been picking up steam, and I know Buffalo is going to want Studnicka for him. I know they do.
So let me ask you this question: the 2 goaltenders, so Ullmark and Swayman, they're kind of splitting time. They're going back and forth. Do you think that's hurting them as well?
No.
I mean, they both have about the same. Ullmark is 2.37 goals against, Swayman 2.71, so not much of a difference.
Yeah, I know Ullmark in the Florida game gave up 2 goals that he should have stopped. Swayman gave up 2 goals last night, but they were deflected off of a Bruin defenseman, and they're like, you can't do anything about that because you're playing the shot, and then it gets deflected, and it's in the net. And then they gave up an empty netter. So I couldn't fault Swayman for those, but he didn't play his second game. He didn't play as well. So both goaltenders have had 1 crappy game in my book, but they've been playing pretty decent outside of that. The problem is, what was that?
Well, I was going to say Brad Marchand, top player on the team, 7 points, 4 goals, 3 assists, and nobody else in the top 50 is. Do you think that there's a possibility, Bergeron or any of those guys?
Well, I think. Look, they've been playing like the teams that Florida and Carolina.
I was waiting for you to say that, right? They've played like 4 undefeated teams so far.
Yeah, and when you're playing Florida and Carolina, you got those teams. They're so good at controlling the puck for different reasons. Carolina with their speed, way faster than Boston, and they use that speed against Boston, and they just clogged everything up against Boston, and Pasternak hasn't been able to move or anything. And they've been just shutting down that Bergeron line pretty well, to be honest with you. Both teams did a great job shutting them down. And, nobody else is really scoring. They're playing well. Like, I love the Frederick line. His line has been buzzing out there. They've actually been playing really, really well, but they're not getting anything to show for it. And then, the third line has been a mess because of people in and out of the lineup, and that's causing a little problem with that line because they can't get any traction. So they've been more of a liability than anything. I can't. It's hard to pinpoint exactly where they're losing it, but it's just, pucks slipping off their stick on a pass, bouncing over. All of that is something that will change, basically. It will change. And I know they have a game against Florida at Boston coming up, and that's when we're going to find out what this team is really made of. Because if they fall to Florida again, kind of like what they did Wednesday night, than fourth in that in that conference. That's not going to get you anywhere because you have to worry about Florida, Carolina, Islanders. Even though the Islanders have started out bad, I got to figure that they're going to put it together.
So we'll have to keep an eye on the bees, and obviously we'll break them down as much as possible during the season. I know, again, my hockey guy Ron.
Yeah, you just gotta look for Bergeron's line to find a way around how they've been played against, and that's what they got to do, and they will do it. They're too good.
All right. Let's move on to the NBA. Let's talk about another struggling team, and that would be the Los Angeles Lakers, who are currently 2-3 early in the season. Should they be concerned about how the team's performing so far?
At 2-3, no. What you should be more concerned about is the Suns and Clippers at 1-3. Like,
Granddad,
how crazy is the start of the NBA right now when you have teams like Sacramento who are ahead of those three teams that we just mentioned?
So listen, here's some of my concerns if I was a Lakers fan. We've talked about it at length about the age of this team.
Yep.
They need to win early because I think later in the season, there's going to be guys that either A, need rest, B, injuries become a factor. If you're not winning now, there's a problem. So look, they're second overall in scoring. They're third in field goal percentage. So it's not the offense. They are the worst performing team defensively.
Yeah.
And
you want to know why?
The players they have don't want to defend.
They want the ball to score. That's what the problem is. And they are scoring, but, it's not like they're hustling back to go play some defense. And you're right. Like, they need to be winning now. And the problem is their age is giving them a slow start because, A, they probably weren't practicing as hard as, younger players or as much. So they're going to be a step behind all the players that are in the league right now. They're going to be a step behind until, 3 weeks. But 3 weeks can put them in a hole that they'll have to climb out of. And then that's when the injuries start.
Yeah. So I also think the Westbrook James thing, it's not going to work. Again, both of these guys want the ball in their hand. That's going to be a problem. So what about the fact, too, that they're arguing on the bench? There was a scuffle between Davis and Howard on the bench during one of the games. They lost the game to OKC. Like, how do you lose to OKC? Westbrook got thrown out of the game.
Yeah,
it's amazing to me that with that amount of talent, it doesn't matter what you put on the court, right? It's got to gel.
It has to, and they're not. Look, you have too many egos. There's too many egos on that team right now. And like a Westbrook going back to OKC and getting thrown out of a game. That's a game that you should go in there. You should say, hey, look, can I get the ball so I can really take it to this team? Because, everybody knows he plays it, right? So you want that guy to be the guy in the game, but he gets thrown out. Like, really? Are you that soft of a player? Yes. To have that happen to you? That's soft.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to let the team that you used to play for dictate your game? That's embarrassing.
Throw them up. So, face-off time, my friend. And our face-off is basically about high school basketball player, 17-year-old Mikey Williams has signed a historic deal with Puma. So, do you agree with the amateur athletes getting paid?
Do I get to pick it?
Sure. I will give you this week because I know you're against it. So let's go ahead. You're up first.
This is appalling, to be honest with you. This is just ridiculous now. I mean, yes, we want people to be able to make money when they want to make money, blah, 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 blah. Okay, look, they're destroying the sports, I don't know, the sports kind of balance. Why are we signing? Okay, first of all, why are we signing a high school kid
High
to a
school, I don't
sneaker
agree with.
deal? Like,
I
really?
agree
That's
with the
freaking
college. Yeah,
ridiculous.
I agree
It's
with the college.
ridiculous.
The college, look, they make a lot of money for the university. I understand that. The high school thing,
Yeah,
I'm a
and
little.
even that is borderline.
This kid,
It's like I get it.
this kid is not eligible for the draft until 2024.
Right.
He won't be in the NBA for another 3 years.
At least,
He's going to be making money from Puma before he's even stepped on the NBA court.
yeah.
It makes no sense to me
I think it's
on
disgusting.
that part of it. The college part, I get. They're making money for the universities. That's what gets other players to want to play for those universities, is how well these guys do, and they see what they can do. And it makes sense because these colleges have made millions upon millions, probably billions, on these kids over the years. I understand that part. The high school one was a little curious to me. I just didn't see it at a 17-year-old who.
No,
and their big thing was that he's got 5 million followers on, Facebook, Twitter, whatever, you know what I mean, Instagram. So that makes him a superstar to get paid. I don't get it. I don't understand it.
Okay, first of all, like,
I'm actually arguing with you. Your point.
I know, but in college, I can see people getting paid. I just think there should be a cap to it. Like, I don't want to see college students making multi-million-dollar deals for the college. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. I want to see almost like a paid job. I can understand that. It's like, okay, you're making, your name is making us a bunch of money, so we're going to pay you such and such amount of money, like a salary. Like, I don't even want to see them making like 50 grand, to be honest with you. It's just not right, because now you're saying, okay, well, this athlete is only worth this, that athlete is worth this, and then you're disparaging against the men and women, and that is wrong in itself as well. It opens up a can of worms that should be say, okay, if you're going to get a contract or whatever, a salary, this is what you can get. That's it. That's what you get.
Yeah.
So I don't care if it's $20,000 across the board for all sports, whatever. It should be the same for everybody. Everybody should be able to make the same.
We've got to blame all these companies that are deciding to do this as well.
Right.
That's right. Where it ultimately lies is, and it's no different than what Nike was doing with Jordan, and back in the day. They want to get those sneaker rights and have these players, so they're just starting earlier.
Right.
Like, if this kid turns into the next Michael Jordan, right?
Yeah,
Puma's got him.
High school student. We don't even know if he's going to make it out of high school.
Yeah. So,
you know what I'm saying? It's like a high school
I feel
student.
like these stories are going to continue to come about. I'll be honest.
And it's going to get worse, Eric.
Yeah.
And I told you that when this first came out, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And then they're going to be at a point where there's no return.
Yep.
You can't stop it.
Pick and roll time, my friend.
Pick and roll.
So, pick and roll. We are going. Tom Brady recently passed 600 touchdown, his 600th touchdown pass in his career. So we decided to rank the other 5 quarterbacks that were behind him on how we would rate them as NFL quarterbacks. So the 5 quarterbacks are Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, and Phillip Rivers. And it's your week to go first, so you're up.
All right. The easy of the 5, Phillip Rivers.
Yes, without a doubt.
It's not even a question. Like, the guy hasn't won anything. Or never will, because he's gone. So, number 5 was easy. Now, the other 4
Agreed.
is a little cloudy, especially considering my prejudice against one certain quarterback, Peyton Manning. It was a little more difficult, so I put Manning at number 4.
Wow. Okay.
Because I just don't like him. He chokes. He's a choke artist, even though he's got a couple of Super Bowls.
Oh. Ron.
I'm sorry. I don't like Peyton Manning. I don't like him. I don't like him. So he's number 4.
Okay.
Hey, I could have put him at number 5, but I would never be able to justify that.
You just did a Kenny, is what we call it on the show.
No.
Go ahead.
No,
Go ahead.
No. But it's a prejudice against Peyton Manning.
Go ahead.
Go Eli. Number 3, I have Brett Favre, and there's nothing wrong with putting Brett Favre ahead of Manning. Really, there isn't. Especially during his Green Bay Packers era. How many Super Bowls does he have?
1.
Okay, so he's got 1 less. Manning was handed 1 to him, so really they have the same amount. Number 2, I put Drew Brees. Because, look, if there's anybody that's similar to a Tom Brady, it would be a Drew Brees. So he was definitely going to be in the top 2 for me. And then number 1, Aaron Rodgers. I think if Aaron Rodgers was not in Green Bay, he probably would have won maybe 4 or 5. If he was somewhere, that invests. Say, you put him, with San Francisco in the past, 5-6 years. I think he might have won a couple of them with San Francisco in the past 5 years alone. So that's the way I have it. Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, Brett Favre ahead of Manning, and then Rivers.
All right. So listen, I'm going to give you the list.
Yeah, I know all about Peyton Manning with all his records and stuff.
I'm going to give you the numbers.
I don't care.
I'm going to give you the numbers, and I'm going to tell you your list was
Numbers
horrible.
aren't everything. Numbers aren't everything, Eric. You should know this because...
So, Granddad, these are current quarterbacks or former quarterbacks after Tom Brady. So, Tom Brady is the all-time touchdowns leader in the NFL. These are the next 5. So, this is how I had it. I agree with you. Phillip Rivers, 134 and 106 in his career, 8-time Pro Bowler, 63,000 yards.
He shouldn't even be an 8-time Pro Bowler.
The fact that he was in the top 5 after, you know what I mean? Impressive.
Yeah.
But at number 4, Drew Brees.
Oh, come on.
172, 114, 13-time Pro Bowler, 1-time All-Pro, only 1-time All-Pro, 1-time champ, 80,000 yards, 571 touchdowns. Here's where the other guys differ.
Where does he rank in touchdowns?
He's number 2.
Okay. Where does he rank in yards?
Number 2.
You see the pattern, right?
I'm going to tell you why the difference is, and this is where you didn't pay attention.
No, I know exactly the difference.
No,
I'll take
Aaron Rodgers
over Manning any day of the week.
Aaron Rodgers, no way.
Even today.
Aaron Rodgers, 133, 64, and 1. So he got his 1 tie in that. 9-time Pro Bowler, 3-time All-Pro, 3-time MVP.
If you have Manning at number 1, I'm muting
champion.
you.
Hold on. 1-time champion. So obviously his numbers right now, because he's still playing 53,000 yards, 429 touchdowns. At number 2, Brett Favre.
Oh, come on.
186, 112. Hold on, though. 11-time Pro Bowler, 3-time All-Pro, 3-time MVP, 1-time champ, 71,000 yards, 508 touchdowns. Here's why Peyton Manning's number 1.
Oh, that's ridiculous. There's no way. You're going to tell me, if you're starting a team with one of these 5 quarterbacks, you're taking Peyton Manning over any of them?
And I'm going to tell you why.
You're lying. You're lying.
Well, listen, I don't like Peyton Manning either, but the numbers don't lie. 186 and 79. Hold on. Let me. You got your time. 186 and 79 in his career. 14-time Pro Bowler, 7-time All-Pro, 5-time MVP, 2-time champion, so more than anybody else on the list, 2 more MVPs more than anybody else on the list, and he was 3rd overall in touchdowns at 539, 7,000, almost 72,000 yards passing.
What's his playoff record?
What are all these guys' playoff record? They only got 1. If you go, there's 2 guys that won.
What's his playoff record?
Okay, what is Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers' playoff record? Because they've only won 1 championship.
I know they have.
So if you go basing it on that, they haven't won any more than he did. They've choked in the playoffs too.
It's the ones that you should win.
Just lost last year when it was a better team than Tampa Bay. They crushed them in the regular season. He lost in the playoffs to Tom Brady because that's what he does. He loses in the playoffs as well. But for some reason, he doesn't get the same stigma that Peyton Manning does. Why?
Because Peyton Manning just
puts up better numbers.
He chucks the ball up. He's had, look, how many All-Pro receivers has he had, too?
So you can't.
No, I can't, because I know by the eyeball test, like the eyeball test, Peyton Manning choke so many times.
Did Aaron Rodgers choke last season?
I don't know.
Did he lose to Tom Brady in the championship game?
Yeah, but did he choke it?
Why not? Yes, he obviously did.
How?
He's lost every year in the playoffs.
But was he winning and then all of a sudden he just throws all kinds of picks?
No, his coach made bad decisions, but he also didn't make smart plays either at the end of the game. So you can sit there and say that all these other guys have choked. Drew Brees has choked plenty of times. Aaron Rodgers has choked plenty of times. Brett Favre got to, 2 Super Bowls, lost one of them.
I still don't take Manning over all those guys except for Rivers.
Once again, for joining us, we're live on Rhode Island Broadcasting. We're on every Friday night,
especially when Brees is number 2 in touchdowns passing.
Oh,
yeah, that alone should tell you.
And he does it, and he chokes in the playoffs. We're on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. You can follow us on Twitch on Rhode Island _broadcasting. Subscribe, we appreciate it. Social media at Sports Unfolded on Facebook and Twitter, at Broadcasting RI on Twitter, Sports _Unfolded on Instagram. And you can also listen to us on our podcasts on Amazon, Anchor, Google, and Spotify. So ways to watch, ways to listen. Appreciate it. We're trying to get all those subscribes and follows up.
And we will never see eye to eye on Peyton Manning.
Appreciate it. Listen, I don't like Peyton Manning any more than you. I probably hate him more than you.
I doubt that.
He's the best regular season quarterback in the history of the game. He's the worst, one of the worst postseasons. But if you look at everybody in that list choked, because the fact that there's 4 Super Bowl wins out of all those quarterbacks, and Peyton has 2 of them, they all choked. They all couldn't get the job done.
Wait,
Tom Brady's been to.
What are you talking about? 4. So Favre has never won a Super Bowl.
Brees won one. Yeah, sorry. So 5. Sorry, 5.
Okay.
5 won 1. Aaron Rodgers won 1, and Drew Brees won 1.
Right.
Peyton Manning won 2.
Yeah.
All right. Prediction time. We tied last 1-1.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, we tied. First game on the docket for the NBA we have is Utah Jazz at Chicago Bulls. That's on October 30th.
Utah Jazz currently number 1.
Best team in the league right now. One of the best teams. You going Jazz?
No, I'm going Bulls.
I'm going Jazz.
Yeah, I know.
I like it.
I gave you that one.
I like it. 11-3. So November 3rd, Charlotte Hornets at Golden State Warriors.
Golden State. They're playing well.
Charlotte's 4-1.
Yep. They're going to start collapsing.
I'm going to Golden State at home, so I'll give you that one. October 30th, Florida Panthers at the Boston Bruins.
Oh,
I do this
hard.
all the time.
I know, I hate it. I don't want to see Bruins in these, but I'm going to go with Boston at home.
I'm going Florida.
They're going to be up for this one.
Better team.
Florida looks like they're going to win the Stanley Cup this year.
November 1st, you got the Washington Capitals.
Oh, wait, I forgot they just lost their coach.
Yeah, Washington Capitals at Tampa Bay Lightning. That's November 1st.
Lightning is 1-2 in a row, and they're at home. I gotta go with Lightning. I have to.
I'm gonna.
I don't want to.
I think that's not a right to ship. Let's talk some football. We got 3 games. Pittsburgh at Cleveland.
Cleveland.
Agreed.
I kind of tend to err on the side of, who was it? Sausages that said that he won't be able to survive the pressure.
Yeah. New England at the Chargers. I'm picking the Chargers.
Yeah.
As much as it kills me.
Yeah.
I don't like doing it either, but
no, I don't want it.
Tampa Bay at New Orleans.
Why don't we only put Patriots games in there when they're playing
Oh,
an
the
easy
Jets?
game. Every time they play the Jets, yeah. Or,
All right.
you know.
And that's over now. So there were no more Patriot picks.
Yeah, I know. So I'm going to go with the Bucks on.
Yeah. So
On
we had
this
all the
one.
football games. We agree. Looks
Wait,
so
we agree on all of it?
all the football ones.
What's different?
Bruins and Bulls. I agreed with everything else.
Wait, you picked the Caps?
No, I picked the Lightning.
Oh, I did too.
Yeah, that's what I said. The only difference was Bruins and Bulls.
Oh, Bruins and Bulls. I thought you said
Yeah.
Bruins and Bolts.
There's something wrong with you. Check us out on Sunday nights after the Patriots game. We do a Patriots post game as well. Check us out on Sports Unfolded on Facebook and Twitter, where we post our top 5 teams from the NHL, NBA, and NFL every week. So we'll be doing that every week. Once again, if you haven't watched our show in the past, how we finish our show off is our final thought. And our final thought doesn't necessarily have to be about anything sports related. It can be about anything going on in the world today. Ron, you're up first, my friend. Your final thought.
All right, my final thought is obviously going to Kyle Beach. Haven't we had enough? Haven't we had enough of all these issues? You know, this is the perfect case to express that it isn't just college. It isn't just high school. It isn't just women. It is everyone is vulnerable. And until this country and these leagues take things seriously, it's never going to change. Kyle Beach should be commended as all those other athletes that have come out against their coaches doing things to them. We should be putting them up on a pedestal and letting them shout out what has happened, because we need to put a stop to it. And the only way it's going to happen is NHL, NBA, MLB, NFL, the NCAA, every other league around, gymnastics, whatever it is, they have to be accountable. They have to take a stand, for the victims. Enough of sweeping it under the table. You need to make a stand. And that's where it starts. It doesn't start with the victim having to, claw and scream, their way to get people to listen. Shouldn't be like that.
So, excellent points, Ron. And you're 100% right? At some point, we just need it to stop. And people need to be held accountable for what they're doing. So you hit the nail on the head on that one. My final thought was I got 2 ones real quick, but I'll start off with Russell Westbrook and being thrown out of that Oklahoma City game. I'm tired of these rules that are supposedly out there where, okay, the player stole the ball. He dunked it. They were up already. They didn't need to do it. Guess what? Win a game. If you win the game, you win the game. Period. Nobody says you win by 1, you win by 10, you win by 15. If you don't like the fact that you feel like somebody was showboating or showing you up, win the game. He has every right to dunk the ball. He came back down the court. You decided you didn't like it. And now you're going to get, an altercation with him because of that. How about showing some team spirit and wanting to win the game and not worry about what somebody else was doing? These guys need to grow up sometimes and just understand, like, again, role models for children as well. And I know they hate to hear that, but listen, show these kids that you're a good sport even when you lose. And if you don't like what somebody's doing, win the game. And my last final thought, I just wanted to give a shout out to my stepdaughter whose birthday is on Sunday. I just wanted to wish Stephanie a happy birthday. Halloween night. So, yes, fun time. So happy birthday, Stephanie. Ron, so it's a pleasure. Sorry Paul couldn't join us tonight. Hopefully we'll get him in the future. But great show. Appreciate the time, my friend. All the fans out there, Check us out. Remember, follow, like, subscribe, all different ways. Listen, Ron, I'll see you next week. And wait for
Absolutely.
top 5 hockey this week. So can't wait for that.
Oh, yeah.
All right,
Could
my
be
friend.
very similar.
Have a good night.
All right. Have a
Take
good
care.
night, everybody. Take care.